All right, Grasshopper, she is back again by
Hey,
popular
Grasshoppers.
demand. And I do mean popular demand. Everybody loves Allie. Oh my God, Allie's coming on. Hopefully get Allie's back on.
You lie so bad.
This is my show, okay? You're not going to take the show over, don't you? Good to see
No
you. How
one
you
can
doing?
take the show from you.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Actually, I'm a little frantic. I'm sorry I dove on at 1 minute prior to going live. I am sorry. It's a little bit of a wild life,
You got
entrepreneur life.
You got nothing else happening, do you?
No, but I do know that you have other female entrepreneurs that you talk to. I'm forgetting the name. I apologize, but one of the other lovely ladies you speak to has her own business too. So I know that your grasshoppers can relate to juggling things, kids and guidance counselors and jobs and clients and all that. So
Jessica comes on. She's good too. She's a single mother and multiple businesses she's run. So she's a busy woman as well. But
yeah, it's an interesting life, isn't it? Though, Tom, you do the same thing.
Yeah, I find for me, like the busier I am, the better, right? I mean, if I have dead time, it's like, as you start dragging and your mind's wandering and everything. And we even had a discussion. I had a buddy of mine, trainer on. We discussed about lack of sleep and how that affected you, and can you fight through that mentally? And actually, I've got a woman coming on tomorrow, really nice person. She's a sleep expert. I think I've got her on like at 1 or 2 o'clock tomorrow. Coming on, so we'll talk about that. But the reason I say that is that I can find if I'm ever tired someday, especially if I'm going to the gym in the morning, early in the morning, the more I get myself like fired up, like I actually have to make an effort to fire myself up. I feel like I can get a better workout when I'm tired because I'm forcing myself to focus more. It's almost like when I'm rested and I have time, it's like, oh, okay, I'm fine, and la-di-da and everything. And but I know I say, okay, I've got to get the pump up music going and the emotional, the motivational videos and everything. So it's going to be interesting to have her on because I really wanted to say to her, I said, okay, I get the science. I'm not disputing the science about how sleep is good for you, but can't you fight through that? Is it possible to fight through it, or is it whatever? So
I think you're right. I think you can, but it is hard. There are days where I think, when was I don't know, Saturday or Sunday, I was on the road for hockey. I was on the road both days, but one of them I managed to get up and get a run in. I think it was Sunday before a long drive. And those days where you like really organize your schedule and make sure that you get out there and put yourself first are really good days for the rest of the day. Even if your run isn't the best, you do feel kind of like, I did at least manage to do that for me.
Yeah. Because you have the choice, right? You could say, listen, I can just stay in bed or, relax or whatever. But when you get yourself going, like, yes.
I have to say, I don't like, sometimes I think about life this way. Have I ever regretted getting up early and going for a run? Have I ever regretted that? And I really cannot think of a time where I regret catching a sunrise.
That's true. Good job. I like that. That's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas I might regret having not done that.
Yeah, I agree totally. Yeah, I do regret the days. If I ever try to take a day off, like the rest of the days, like, oh God, I'm dragging. I've missed an opportunity. Yeah. That's cool.
I have to ask you something, Tom, and I'm not sure we should talk about this, but you know me, I usually bring up that sort of stuff on air live, right? Just right, because that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there are some people who really deal with their life by controlling everything they possibly can, because so much of life cannot be controlled. Right now in the pandemic, so much is beyond our control, and we keep talking about uncertainty, and we're almost holding people hostage to the notion of uncertainty in a way. And I'm beginning to think that's not the right thing to do, because hope is possible. Hope contains a lack of certainty just by its very nature. Hope is not certain. But I am certain that I can be hopeful. I know that probably makes no sense, but I think sometimes people use like exercise and food as a way to control their life. And I did that in high school. Actually, I had an eating disorder in high school. And I organized, I moved from a farm in the middle of high school to Princeton. And that was actually really difficult to go from, just focusing on horses, raising and training horses and riding and mucking stalls and taking care of chickens and living on a farm. And it just, actually, this is kind of funny. I brought my barn boots to school. I wore them to school because I was I felt so lucky that I had horses to take care of first thing in the morning. I didn't realize how bad they stank in the locker. So I didn't really realize the things I was doing to kind of push guys away from me. I didn't really understand that at the moment.
You're smart at that age.
When I moved to Princeton, it was a different ballgame entirely. I mean, we weren't living on a farm anymore. I didn't have that as part of my life. I had, I immersed myself entirely in study because I could do that. I got into rowing. I tried to play soccer. That was horrendous. I could throw myself in front of the ball and block all day long, but I couldn't do a thing with the soccer ball.
Right.
So I just had these areas of where I could be successful and areas where I was horrendously not successful at all. And that was most of most of the rest of the area of my life. But I managed to control my sense of being somewhat vulnerable and at a loss by controlling what I ate and controlling exercise. And so that's where I started to get into disorganized eating and over exercising. And so this is really it may be something that many of your folks can relate to, because it's not actually uncommon among women and not among men either. I think just women are more likely to speak about it, but it's something that you actually have to learn to deal with your whole life. And I continue to live my life in ledgers. And so I kind of feel like if I do this, then I earn this. And that's across the entire board. You know what I mean? So I kind of wonder if you tend to do the same thing. Like if I work out in the morning and then the rest of the day is going to go well, because that's just kind of how you expect it to go. And if you don't work out in the morning, are you constantly in a recovery mode, trying to make the best of your day because you kind of feel like you got off kilter at the beginning of the day?
Wow, that's a great question. I definitely like the routine. Like I definitely like to say, okay, I am out of the bed by 3:30 at the latest. The alarm goes off at 3:30. Usually I'm up before that by 3:30. The bed gets made perfect. Like, and I guess I do. Like I have a lot of habits where I can't leave the room. I cannot leave my bedroom until that bed is made.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah, downstairs. I guess then I go right to the refrigerator, grab my apple cider vinegar. So it is all the same stuff. And I'm out the door at 3:50 to do the quick march and the video. That's right, 4:15. I'm out the door to go to gym. So I definitely, and I do find myself that if I ever say if I go to the gym and I look at the clock and it's 4:20, I'm like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be out the door at 4:15. It's not, nobody else is going to know. It's not the end of the world, but I want my routine. Because I do find like even at the start of the pandemic, I broke away from my routine, right? I wasn't going to the gym. Gyms were closed. And I found myself, and I guess my fear is that I drift away from the discipline in my life. Yeah. If I start to change things a little bit, now my discipline changes. And now I did at the start of the pandemic. I wasn't working out as hard. I didn't feel as good about myself. You get back to it. But maybe that's just natural, right? Maybe you go through times where you're never going to be, is it possible to be always at your peak all the time, right?
Well, that's an interesting question for you as a professional athlete, right? I mean, I often wonder about your life when you were a professional athlete. You were having to stay at absolute peak condition, but you've told me that actually in some ways now with your experience and your maturity and commitment to exercise, you're actually in somewhat better shape now than you were. So I think that should tell you that you can trust yourself to go off into the ditch a little bit, and you're going to naturally come back. And that's something I had to learn over time. I'm 49 now, but for any of your grasshoppers who have ever had to struggle with this, and we're just kind of wondering, what the path forward is and what the way out is, especially if you have teenage women who are listening, you have to begin trusting your body that you're not going to go too far either way. You have to allow yourself, I believe, a little bit of room. But if you get overly concerned and overly obsessed about something, then that's what leads to problems. I think.
Is it like women being concerned about the way their body looks?
Yeah. For me, it was I didn't have dates to the prom or whatever, and boys would periodically call me. It was back when there was a line connected to the wall. Remember that?
Yes.
And so they would periodically call, and I was like, oh, this is exciting. Maybe this will be a date. And actually, it was just for my history notes. So, so I was kind of in this mindset of if I get thin enough, then maybe the guys will like me. But, it took me 20 years to figure out that's not really what it was at all. Right. But I do think that women get to be obsessed with image. And we've seen this is not news. I'm not sharing anything that isn't well understood and described by other people. But that image that's ideal is changing over time.
Right.
And I think even in some ways that the ideal is swinging so far to body acceptability at across a wide continuum that we're actually even now supporting a body image that isn't actually even really that healthy for the individual, whether it's too thin or too heavy. And so I think we need to think about the parameters in which we think people are healthy and consider mind and body.
Right.
And talk to people about that in a more holistic way.
Right. It is hard on women, right? They're judged so much on their looks, just in general, the hair, the weight, whatever it is, and listen, I'm as bad as anybody. As I've gotten older, I've certainly changed. And I look at women differently now. And I think, well, yes, you want to be attracted to the person, there's no question, but their personality is so much more, it sounds funny to say, but it's true. I mean, I really believe that an average appearing woman can be much more attractive because of her personality, and vice versa. An attractive woman could be unattractive because you don't want to talk to her, right? I mean,
yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, I just think, I just find myself, and I think that is a product of just getting older for men. You look at things differently. You want to be around a woman that you enjoy being around, right?
Right. I mean, I think, that's the point really, is there's so much more to life than just one facet. And sometimes we are human beings and we focus on just one thing. And we think if we get that one thing right, like, your weight on a scale, a number on the scale, if we get that right, or say, you hit 355 when you're doing your video for all the grasshoppers, then everything else is going to be okay. I'm guilty of that sort of, mild superstition too. I mean, certainly, I think we all are. I think we all look for things that are like hallmarks, or do you know what cairns are? When you're hiking, cairns are piles of stone that mark a trail.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So like when you're up on a mountaintop and it's foggy and you can't really see, cairns are the way that you see your path forward. I think in life, sometimes we latch onto things as like our cairn for, okay, I'm still on the right path. And I'm just suggesting that we should trust our instincts and trust that our bodies are going to help guide us.
Right.
So for instance, people get in trouble with food because they're eating for the wrong reasons. If you eat for the right reason, and that is for nourishment, as you've been talking about, then and this gets to kind of my experiment from this weekend, my homework for this weekend was to see if I could eat at Subway, again with Ben, because we were on the road, for even cheaper, but healthier.
Right.
Because I've been like getting this $7 salad or whatever it was. Well, yes, I was able to actually eat a sandwich instead of a salad, which gets back to my high school eating issues. I always get salads all the time, and my family yells at me. They're like, just eat real food. Right. So this time I split a sandwich with them, and you know what? It was cheaper. I had maybe 140 extra calories, maybe, which is nothing. It's really neither here nor there. I could sit in the car and burn those off, Mm-hmm. And it was only $3.25 each. So back to our experiment from 2 weeks ago, $3, Hardee's, bacon cheese burrito. For the same amount of money, half the calories, half the saturated fats. I followed up on your question for me about that. Saturated fats are like sky high on the fast food burgers and burritos and things.
But you need some saturated fats. I mean, saturated fats aren't all bad. You need to have some of it. The trans fats are the worst, right? Right.
Yeah. And the saturated fats, I think I read like 16 to 22 grams or so, keeps you in a pretty heart healthy place. I don't know if that sounds familiar, but I was looking at the Hardee's menu and looking at some others, and you burn through that daily allotment of saturated fats pretty quick if you eat a burger or a burrito or something. But if you eat like a Subway sandwich, and it's pretty filling, it's probably by the time they spray a whole bunch of dressing over your salad, you're probably looking at the same calories. It's easier to eat while you're driving if we're talking about sheer logistics. I mean, I have eaten a salad while driving. I did that this weekend too. But you always worry when people drive by. You're like, please don't watch what I'm doing.
It's a little bit of an issue. Yeah. How many hands do you have?
I drive with my knees super well.
Oh, Allie, please, we've got to stop that.
Oh, it's really good.
We've got to find some better way. So back really quick, I want to ask you a question. So what if a family has a daughter that's a teenage daughter, and she's going through some issues like that, where she's dieting too much, getting too skinny because she feels like she has to look that way? What do you mean? I mean, obviously there's a confidence issue there too, right? Like you need to build up her confidence. Say you don't need to do that. You're a fantastic person. You're a wonderful person. Is that what you do?
Well, that's a really good question, because of course my family told me that, and my family tried to boost my confidence and all of that. But I don't think that you really believe what your parents say, because you tend to believe they're biased. Right. Of course, they're going to say that. So I think that providing support for positive ways of gaining confidence, like leadership opportunities, starting a club, getting internships, beginning to think about careers, and providing the woman with that sort of like very forward-looking exposure and thinking, not just the here and now in high school, because it feels like forever while you're in high school, but honestly, that's just one small portion of your life. Just getting them to think about other areas of their life and other areas where they could develop, and things that they might even have that are really unique qualities that other people don't have.
Right.
I think people who feel less secure may have truly interesting qualities about them
Sure.
that just are not widely appreciated.
Right.
So,
So it's interesting you say, well, the parents, like a child, a lot of times isn't going to listen to the parents because they're biased, and they are, right? And my kids are the same way. You know, I coaching my son in hockey, and I used to try to get him to get out of the blue paint. You know, he's a goaltender. I was in the blue paint. Now, it was a little bit of a metaphor for life for me that the blue paint is your comfort zone. I wanted him to get out of his comfort zone.
Yeah.
But I would constantly, when I'm coaching him, you know, and I played in the NHL for 11 years, and I'm coaching him, and he wouldn't listen to me. He'd stay in the blue paint. Some other coach, random coach, came along and said, Shane, you're in the blue paint. He got out of the blue paint right away. You know, it was years later that he came back. We were having a discussion about something and touched on a subject, and he finally goes, "Oh, now I get it." Like he knew that I was trying to get him to get out of the comfort zone. So that's pretty standard with parents, right? So it's like people outside the home, maybe somebody, a family friend or something like that, to be coming to the person, the girl in that case, and make sure she understands, listen, you're a fantastic person. Like you're compliment her all the time. But like I said, if your parents tried that too, and you still didn't, you know, you got it in your head that you had to be skinnier, then I mean, there's much you could do, right? I mean, is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to evaluate, are we really at a place where it's really life-threatening anorexia? Or are we in a place where like the person's high functioning, happy, they're actually happy where they are right now. It's not progressing to a place where they're really causing a health deterioration. Right. And I think that's something that a parent would need to talk to, you know, the family practitioner or the internist about, and maybe even a nutritionist. Maybe the parent go have a private meeting and kind of, you know, just dump all of their concerns on a professional and kind of figure out what the boundaries are, like the parameters for when should I really be concerned about my child, right. and just have someone else to talk to, because I think the apple doesn't usually fall too far from the tree. So if I had a daughter, she may have picked up some of these things from me, just about how I go through my life. And then she may start to develop some of the same tendencies, right? Just by overhearing and absorbing the way I think about my life. I got to get a run in, or I really earned my apple pie tonight, or whatever, you know, like we give off these vibes of how we see life, and they're going to pick it up. So I think that the parent also needs to recognize that some of it is coming maybe from them and how they've come through their own experience with these challenges. And just realize that, you know, probably the child's going to be fine. Don't obsess about the child, because that'll put more pressure on the child to sort it out. Don't observe and manage everything that the child's doing with regard to food. Don't count the pretzels, you know, just try to let the child be. And if the parent has concerns, by all means, go to the family practitioner, go to the internist, go to a nutritionist, and just get the security and the confidence from the professional about how the home is kind of managed and structured and the warning signs to look for, and then operate safely within those guardrails.
All right.
Does that make any sense?
I got it. So now a couple of times you've mentioned earning food. And I want to discuss that. I'm not saying that's bad or not. I don't have an opinion on it really. I just wanted to discuss it. Like, if I do that, like, I think I get on my.
Do that?
Do I what?
You don't do that?
No, I don't think I do. I think I have my regimen. Okay, this is what I'm going to eat. It doesn't matter. I more look at it and say, okay, when I put all my food and calories into my FitPal, so it gives me an estimate of how many calories, how much protein, fat, and carbs I've had. So I'm trying to think to myself, I'm more concerned. All right, so I'm allotted 3,500 calories a day based on my lifestyle, but then it also factors in, okay, I put in my workouts too, so I may burn off another 1,000 calories. So now I can really have 4,500 calories. Or I more look at that I need to get 4,500 calories.
Right. Yeah.
So it's more based on that I decide what I can eat. But
I think, you need to remember you're 6'2" and like 210 pounds, right? So
225 now, yeah.
Okay, so you need to remember that I'm 5'6" and like 128. And so I don't get to eat as much as you to begin with. And I love food as much as you do.
Right.
I can eat 4,500 calories, no problem. So in a way, I kind of do have to earn my appetite in a way. Do you know what I mean? Because I really, if the Cheez-Its were around or the desserts around or, so if I want to indulge, I kind of do have to be careful, because remember we were talking about sliding off into the ditch of bad habits, and if you fall out of your routine, like at the beginning of the pandemic, just how far do you slide? Where does that go? And I would start envisioning this is going in a direction that's not so good.
So, I mean, you earning like a piece of apple pie. Why not say instead of a piece of apple pie, I need to have a certain number of calories. I'm going to have cucumbers and hummus. I love cucumbers and hummus. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do that too. But like apple pie is just better at 8 p.m. than cucumbers and hummus.
All right. Well, yeah.
I would have the cucumbers and hummus too, but that's more at like 4:30, and that's to take the edge off of like diving headlong into pasta and eating more of that than I really should.
That's true.
You know,
and I just cook for myself here too, right? So it's not like I'm cooking like for your boys. You've got to cook different foods, right? They need to get those calories pumped in them, so you can have your regular pasta. Where I have chickpea pasta. So
right. Yeah. Hey, that sounds good. You need to share that recipe.
Yes, the chickpea pasta.
Yeah. Because that's a good source of protein too.
Oh, it is. Yeah. A good source of fiber, protein. Yeah. Low fat.
One of the things I do for my family is I do set out hummus, and I know you're making your own now. I set out hummus and carrots and cucumbers and stuff on the counter so that like when they come down and they start grazing, good stuff is actually out there. Otherwise they go in and go get the pretzels or whatever. And if you need to take the edge off, drinking something cold really makes you feel like you're full. You probably know that, right? So keeping hydrated and stuff, it gives you that sensation of fullness before dinner or before a meal. So if you know you're going to be at a party or less healthy food is going to be there, you could take an orange, eat that on the way, slam a glass of water, 8 ounces of water on your way in, and then you're less likely to start diving into, the Ruffles and other things there. That
I find, and again, it's easier for me because I just don't buy chips like that. Like you got your kids there, so you have that food in your house. It's so much easier.
Not really. I mean, I really try to keep only the good, only reasonable stuff around. So we keep some pretzels around, some hummus around. If they're really hungry, they can have milk. I was actually going to mention this last week. Milk is a great filler.
Yes.
And it's got calcium and vitamin D in it. So,
growing up as a boy on the farm, I had unpasteurized milk until I was like, that's all I drank was unpasteurized milk. It was right from the cow, put in the cooler and drank it. So
that's amazing.
Oh yeah.
I know people who buy that here.
Yeah, I got hurt one play. I was playing in the NHL. I hurt my leg or something. I wouldn't get X-rays. They thought it was actually broken. And the X-ray technician comes out. He goes, "What is wrong with your bones? Are like so thick." Because I drank milk, like unpasteurized milk, for 15 years. So all those years growing.
The skull is very thick.
Yeah, that's thick too. Yeah, no question about that. That's a whole different story there.
That's good though.
How are we with hard-boiled eggs? You big on eggs?
I am. The whites have really good protein, and the yolks, when I was studying it like 10 years ago, I don't know why I was fascinated with eggs and yolks, probably because we had chickens and we were eating a lot more eggs, and I was kind of worried, hey, is this a good idea or not? The yolks, I believe, have choline in them, which are good for your eyes, but I think you do get a little more fat from the yolk, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't have any issues with them. 75 calories. Yeah,
totally. And I keep hard-boiled eggs in my fridge all the time. Like I probably... most days I'll have 3 or 4 hard-boiled eggs every day. So like if I so when I break my fast at noon, it's the ginger and turmeric and the avocado, banana shake and all that stuff. And then I'll have a meal like, I've got homemade turkey or ground turkey, black bean chili in there. And I put some vegetables in it. So I'll have that. And then later on the day, I find myself, I don't necessarily even have a full meal. I will sometimes, but if I'm having the cucumbers and hummus and eggs and stuff like that, then it's more picking, and I feel like I'm still counting my calories to see what I'm getting in there, but that's interesting.
Those eggs are good. By the way, those you can find at gas stations too. When we're looking for the cheap on the fly food, those are at gas stations. But something really funny happened to me with one of those. You know how they're extremely slippery?
Yes.
You probably haven't bought a gas station hard-boiled egg in a long time, but I dare you to.
Yeah.
They're super slippery in that wrapping. And so the boys and I were driving up to New Jersey, a long drive. We had just gotten through, like me almost running out of gas because I read the gas tank wrong. Remember that whole saga? So we loaded up on snacks at the gas station, and I went to take a bite of one. And because it's like slippery, it like the suction of that egg in my mouth was intense. Like I couldn't bite through it. And it created this like perfect seal. So when I bit through it, it shot the rest of the egg at Sam in the passenger seat. It just went like a cannon, like a grenade at him. It scared him.
We need to do a reality show. Just have a cameraman follow you around all the time.
It was so intense. We got this slippery egg flying around the car, and then Sam's like, "Wow, what is this thing, Mom? What are you doing?" He picks it up, and he's like, "Gonna throw it at Ben." I'm like, "No."
We're the cameraman. We're gonna follow. The cameraman's gonna follow you around. Maybe just with the kids with the cell phone. Just film everything that you do. and we'll have a TV show.
There'd be a lot you have to cut that is just not very interesting or like weird philosophical conversation.
That's fine. Yeah, but we've got some good stories. There's no question about that. No, that's good. That's good. All right. So we have determined then with all your homework that you've done, we first started off wondering, is it you're only able to get unhealthy food at a reasonable price when you're on the road someplace and not cooking home? And it appears we've come to the conclusion that, yeah, it's better to be at home, buying food at the restaurant or grocery store than cooking. That's ultimately you can control how much sodium you're putting in and everything. But if you are on the road, you can still get reasonably healthy food for a reasonable price too, correct?
I think so. And I sent you a link last night to a whole list of fast food places. And honestly, I was shocked at how many times Chick-fil-A was on this list, because I look at people lined up at Chick-fil-A and all I hear about is the chicken sandwiches. But they actually have quite a few salads and things there too. And the nice thing, the interesting thing I was thinking about, because of the whole pandemic, now we can do a lot of app-based shopping on smartphones. Like you can order ahead from fast food places. You can do the Panera, you can do the order ahead and pick up. Subway even does too. And Food Lion and, Harris Teeter and the other grocery stores. I don't remember all of the East Coast stores because I'm still fairly new getting back here. But the cool thing is calories are listed on your phone and nutrition information listed on your phone. Oh. So instead of walking into a fast food place and smelling all the good smells and the French fry smells and all that, you can actually be really smart and conscious on your phone, order ahead, stick to your plan, and pick it up and not get
Good. That's good. So the bottom line is it seems like there's always a way to buy healthy food no matter where you are at a reasonable price too, right? It's not going off budget.
I think so. You might have a 20% bump up, I think, but I think it's doable. The other thing that my children do not agree with, but I think is a very good recommendation, is never buy your own French fries. Always steal from someone else. Because then you will never eat as many as you might otherwise.
Oh, I'll tell you, when I was younger, I used to love going to the McDonald's and you'd get like 2 or 3 orders of fries, dump them into the paper bag, a bunch of salt and everything like that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Just eat the French fries there. Yeah.
And then you just start shaking.
Oh yeah. I remember when my boys were smaller, we'd had our motorhome. So we'd be traveling all over the place. And we'd stop at McDonald's all the time. And I would have to get the French fries and the filet of fish sandwich. Like the filet of fish sandwich is like 5,000 calories of fat. So it was awful. The other thing that was really bad for us too, you ever had those Cinnabons?
Rarely. You just walk in there and the wall of sugar smell is enough to make me start freaking out.
Yeah, so I'm with my sons too, so they can eat whatever they want when they're smaller. So we'd buy one single Cinnabon, which is probably must have been 2,000 calories by itself, and then we'd buy the big package that had 12 Cinnabons in it. Oh God, yeah, you're right. The sugar and everything. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, but it's okay to get that stuff though, right, Tom? Every now and then, but just maybe divide it up.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Yes. All right. So we've decided then that we're going to have a TV show called, what do we call it? Allie, what should we call it? Allie Lives, or The Life of Allie? The Life of Allie.
Series of unfortunate. Yeah. Remember that show, Series of Unfortunate Events?
Oh no, I didn't know that. Is there a show like that?
Funny. Yeah, it's actually a book series, but it was turned into a TV show. It's pretty good. Right. I wanted to tell you too, do you remember me drawing the kanji last week?
Oh, I'm glad you brought this up. Yes, go ahead.
Itoshite. Well, this guy actually has more to do with like a drawing or a design, and a different kanji is actually a little bit more appropriate and sounds like ishi, which is also the word for rock. So I was, it means that the ishi one actually means to turn around and face toward someone.
Right.
The second kanji is a little bit different. So I just wanted to mention that I am not a kanji expert at all, and it's very interesting. The two kanjis, when they're put together, have a different meaning. So the first part is I, and then the second part was to or shi, and the shi means to turn toward someone. And I really felt like that was a more beautiful description of what we were talking to. Remember, I had to apologize to somebody and really with intention say that didn't go the way I wanted to. So that's kind of the turning toward someone, or even changing your life direction toward a different path.
Right. And you know what fascinated me? So when I'm in the gym, I really like to have like a word that when I'm in the middle of an exercise, like in the past, I've used focus, like I yell at myself, focus, And you used the term ito the other day.
Right.
That means intention?
Yeah, it does. But what I'm going to draw for you here is slightly different, which I think is even better. And it actually has, the bottom part of it is the same. Okay. So last week I said ito was intention. This one is ishi. and that means will. So the E part is the same here. On the
Ishi.
left, the E part is the same, but instead of toe, now we have she. And this actually down here, this part, it looks like little legs. That's actually the heart. That's kokoro.
Okay. So ishi means will, like you will it to happen. You're willing it to happen.
Yep.
Ito
So
or
I think
ito. See,
Ito was like it had a little bit more to do with a drawing or a design.
Right.
Like your plan, maybe.
Right.
But will, I think, also involves the heart a little bit better.
Okay.
Like this part over here, this is a rice paddy and this is your heart.
So if I'm in the middle of
an
exercise, and I want to yell to myself, I'm yelling ishi. That means will yourself to do it, right? I'm willing myself to do it.
Yeah, that's not what a Japanese person would say. So when I get my Japanese dads on the phone with you to talk about hockey, and I hope to do that next week or the week after, we have one Japanese dad who's moved to Hong Kong, is looking for hockey in Hong Kong, and his family won't move and join him until he finds hockey in Hong Kong.
I can set him up with hockey in Hong Kong. A former teammate of mine, Barry Beck, is coaching hockey in Hong Kong, actually.
Really? Yeah. Okay, well, this amazing guy, I hope to get him on with you. But he could tell you what a Japanese man would actually yell at himself in the gym.
Oh, okay.
Okay, right. I have some ideas, but I'm
an American. They would say ishi. They wouldn't say ishi. But to them,
they wouldn't. That would be in like not even really in conversation. That would be, hey Ben, what would a Japanese person yell at themselves in a gym to be like, what? Ishokenmei ganbatte shuchu shite ikuyo. Hayakshite, Ben saying. I don't know, he's studying Japanese right now. We'll get something better for you.
Right. I like Ito. I just like, it feels good yelling Ito. Ito.
Okay. Well, if that feels right and that gets you going.
Yeah, it does. Like
I think you would like Japanese because your voice, the way the Japanese coaches talk is the same way that your voice is. It's just like very gravelly and just very growly.
Okay.
So if we could just teach you Japanese, that would be awesome. You could yell all day long and you would love it.
Since you told me the Ito thing, when I'm in the gym and I'm yelling Ito, I just feel like, I've got like, yeah.
Is anyone else in there?
No, I'm by myself. Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
All right. You need to take a video and I'll share it with my friends.
Okay.
And I'll be like, this is the setting that we need the right word for. Okay.
Perfect. I will do that. Actually, there's an older gentleman that comes in right near the end of my workout. So the people start coming at 6. He'll get there literally like 10 to 6. And I think I've scared him a few times because I didn't know he was there. And I'm grunting and groaning because I don't do it when other people are there. When I'm by myself, I'm like, and he walks in sometimes and he won't walk near me. Like he stays away from me. I'm trying to be nice to him, but I think it's far gone. Yeah. All right. So great to see you. So again, we've got a new TV coming up. I'll talk to the people at CBS to get the Life and Times of Allie while she chokes on the egg. And,
we're shooting it. Actually, I actually thought we should have like an egg shooting contest.
Nobody's probably ever thought of that. Think about that. Nobody's ever thought of having an egg shooting contest. So, all right. We'll see everybody again next week. Thanks, Allie. Good job.
Thank you, everybody.